Last time in Senior Citizen, Mzee Henry Kisajja Kyemba gave us a little more about the circumstances under which he and President Milton Obote narrowly escaped being killed at Kololo when they were shot at, and when a grenade was hurled at them and it failed to explode.
We were leaving Gogo Indoor Stadium, and just as soon as we got out of the main building, there's a small tree where somebody was hiding, and immediately gunshots rang out.
He went on to inform us of the incident in which the Vice President of Uganda was ambushed on the outskirts of Kampala by people who thought he was actually President Obote.
Oh, nobody was hit, but all the windows, middle windows between the driver and the president, Vice President where he sat, were shattered. So Vice President Kabaka had a very, very narrow escape. Very, very narrow escape, and as well as Obote himself by accident.
We also asked him how he had managed to clinch the job of Principal Private Secretary to the Prime Minister of a very young, independent country like Uganda. And he acquitted himself of suspicion I had that he could have bribed his way, as has become the practice in some areas.
I want to become a district officer. To my great surprise, they posted me to Prime Minister's office. That's how it started. This wasn't my plan.
Finally, he also let us know about his work with the Rotary, meaning that his was not politics, but also charity and service to mankind.
You grow up to serve, not to be served. That's a very important aspect, which Rotarians all over the world will work on.
This time round, Mzee Kyemba is going to tell us the circumstances under which Ssaabasajja Edward Muteesa became President of the Republic of Uganda, and how William Wilberforce Nadiope, who became Kyabazinga, also became Vice President of Uganda. Banange, have you subscribed to OwanaPaedia? I don't know what you are waiting for. I warned you that you are a resource person whom we take this direction the other way.
No problem.
I'm very interested in how you and others arranged the election of Kabaka Edward Muteesa to become president. You must have been inside on that story.
Of course, some were public knowledge, others insiders. There is no problem.
Honorable Kyemba, let me warn you. These people viewing you, what you call public knowledge, is a mystery to them. So don't use the two words public knowledge. No. How did you and Obote and others work out arranging kings to be now presidents and vice president? Your Kyabazinga also became vice president. Sir William Wilberforce Nadiope. Give me the story there, because this was independence 1963, isn't it? When he became president.
Independence 62, but 1 year later, the last colonial governor left.
Yes.
And they had to elect a new president to take over.
I'm told the situation was not smooth. In fact, the rumor says that in a straight election, Sir William Wilberforce would defeat Sir Edward for presidency in Parliament. But these are the rumors. Now, you are one of the remaining lights. Tell me.
Well, if you are a politician, in my view, you must look at all the pros and cons of a situation.
Yes.
Vice President Nadiope was a very powerful politician. He had been in the UPC and the politics for a long time. And a very big voice in Busoga. We all knew him very well.
Yes.
And he had a strong voice in the party. Obote was, of course, the head, but I think he also knew his politics quite well. When UPC won the elections in 1962, which brought him to power, just before the election, they formed this alliance with Uganda, like Chintu and the rest of it. Some of the Baganda were skeptical about that alliance, as you possibly know also.
Yes.
They thought it was, the Kabaka wasn't doing quite the right thing to go into some understanding with these politicians whom you can never trust at any one time. So, Obote, with his colleagues, decided just before the election that we should go into alliance with him, just in case the DP won. Because the DP, by then, the DP was very strong, both religion-wise, and in some areas, with or without religion. Others were strong with or without religion. Busoga was basically not a DP stronghold. It was a UP, not because we had many Catholics there or what. In fact, personally, I got to know that this difference came from nowhere. We are never bothered about Catholics or DP in my area. Now, during that preparatory going for after the election, going to the elections, there was that alliance. And I'm not surprised at all, I was never surprised at all, that given the 23 or 24 seats from Uganda,
yes,
all that UPC needed was a minimal 24, 30 seats
to clinch the majority,
in
yes,
Parliament.
Yes.
So that is what you and I am sure
Logic.
would be good logic.
Yes.
As the results started coming in, UPC started doing quite well outside Buganda. And we could see that, others are saying, isn't that getting too much now? Because we are getting too independent of these 24. Because the fewer they had, the more voice Uganda had. But if the numbers were about even,
yes,
or even more, why should we bother about Uganda? This was known about the time of the election. As it did, UPC did quite fairly well outside, and of course Uganda couldn't adjust its numbers, was static at 24, 23. Now, this was working relationship at the time when they are going into independence.
Yes.
Now what happened? Obote truth his promise at the time, gave Uganda some of the most key ministries. Ministry of Finance, Amos Sempa, education was Dr. Zake, health was Dr. Lumu. These were some of the most key ministries.
Yes.
And then of course you had others, Kaldesetala and Lubo was Deputy Attorney General. There's also Godfrey Binaisa. Now those were some of the key ministers in the government. But by and large, UPC didn't fault Obote for giving these key ministries to Uganda. So Uganda stood a very strong, held a strong position in that independence government.
Okay.
Now, when it came to choosing the vice president, the president of the country,
Yes.
that's where the things came in. People trying to say, oh, but Uganda is benefited too much from here. Why don't we put Nadiope there? And Nadiope thought he would have it But I think, you know, looking back at it, personally for me, I think Obote did the right thing.
Okay.
I would admit it as in my...
Many other scholars admit like keeping the country together.
Exactly, exactly. I think it was on the right that she kept. But unfortunately, the popularity of the Kabaka of Buganda in Buganda, with the headquarters of the government in Buganda, I think Milton might have felt a bit of that he was missing that show.
The pomp.
That pomp.
Yes,
but
I
then,
can understand that also.
But then Obote didn't create that pomp. The pomp was created in London.
Yes.
Because the agreement that set up our constitution recognized the center stage of Uganda in our government. And they stated that among the they recognized the various kingdoms. They said if it is a cultural function, the Kabaka takes precedence. If
they agreed on that.
It was not, they agreed on it. The Kabaka took precedence, or any cultural leader in their own would take precedence, and the Prime Minister would take second position. But being in Kampala all the time, most of the time, and at certain festivities, you would see that the president was feeling the discomfort.
Feeling small.
As time went on. And as long as they agreed, worked together,
things were okay.
There's no problem at all.
Yes.
And I used to enjoy it also, because we are working closely with the private secretary of even after the his appointment with his private secretary, Eriva Chigundu. We used to call him Kupapa. We would interact and talk together, exchange ideas. In fact, the first State House function, I was standing right next to the Kabaka to introduce the Owanas who were coming to the function. So
I wish actually I was there. The Owanas.
Yes.
I don't know
and
where my father was.
Before they
go
to the vice president and then to the prime minister, because I knew who had been invited to the function.
Okay.
Now, this is the thing which eventually, it was working very well.
Yes.
Because give and take. After all, the law said if the president doesn't sign, you sign the prime minister would sign. But these were very few occasions where you disagree to that extent, until matters started coming up with the lost counties and things like that. Then seeing people, positions were taken, which became difficult.
Only Owana really loves our history. He has a passion for doing research, and he shares all this history with you, so that you can make informed choices.
Banange, have you subscribed to OwanaPaedia? I don't know what you are waiting for.
And he shares all this history with you, so that you can make informed choices.
Now for you, as Principal Private Secretary to the Prime Minister, and the person you have mentioned who was your equivalent with the President,
Eriva Chigundu.
Is he alive?
No, he passed on.
Now,
just after the inauguration of this one. He was there for some years.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want you to relive the moment when these two colleagues started falling out, Milton and Edward, for want of a better intimate reference, and then you and Chigundu. I'm trying to look at two public servants being influenced now by the directions which their bosses are taking, when things have been very smooth, relive those moments for me. Like you are in an office and suddenly, now I traveled with a cameraman, Deo Chaligonza. Then suddenly, Deo Chaligonza is suspicious about me, and me suspicious about him. That. Because it's also a lesson for the public servants of today.
Yes, that's very interesting, because it is really the way you react to things as you want. You think they should, or you think they should not. When you are a private secretary, you are not a president.
No. The Luganda translation is the one most potent. Omuwandisi w'ekyama.
Correct.
Now you see that one. Ekyama is already now like conspiracy.
Things have changed slightly. Where you are, when during the colonial days, at least when I was trained, to be a private secretary, you had to be there for really 2 years, maximum 3. Because the position of private secretary is not permanent.
Oh.
You need to go there as a promotion to a certain level, and then you go to other fields to get promoted.
Okay.
So, when you became one, you know I would not be there for. And because, let me tell you, being a private secretary, as I told you earlier, is not a cup of tea.
I agree.
You have no family life.
Tell them.
You've no family life. Because you come and say, when can we go for lunch? I say, Tony, I don't know where my boss will be.
So leave me out of it.
I cannot give you an answer, because unless I know what my boss wants me to do at that particular time, it will be foolish for me to say, oh, let's go and enjoy this. It is always ad hocing for this.
You start living on a plane or something.
Exactly. What if he says we are going to this place?
Yeah.
But you are entitled to certain things, which because of your position. So you don't have a life of your own. Eventually, you tend to live as the president. He lives, move, you are busy, you are what. That's why some of our marriages collapse so early, because nobody will see you.
You are an absentee husband.
You are absentee husband, like absentee landlord. And obviously, the family would suffer, and that kind of thing. It can be very difficult. So, that is the warning I would give to anybody.
So, for you and Kigundu, you didn't have trouble?
No, for us, when it had changed, it was starting to change. Because they first of all said, no, Mr. Kyemba, the president wants you. Don't worry about missing promotions. They will promote you in your position.
That is when the prime minister had become president?
That's right. And even when he was prime minister, they said, we will promote me in accordance with my performance, along with others who were being promoted, because we are senior at the same time. They would consider me. That's how I rose from assistant secretary to principal assistant secretary to under secretary, until I was promoted to permanent secretary, and later to permanent secretary, head of the civil service, because I was being considered along with others. That's how I got to the PPS, and literally I remained there until took over, and I became secretary to cabinet and head of civil service. But that is that was the rule. And for working relationship, we knew our perimeters. I would joke with the River Chigun. I said, Mr. River, we've got this problem. I'm bringing this to you, the president is supposed to sign. But if he doesn't sign, then you give it back to me with his authority, and I will give mine to sign. I will have to, that is my role.
Were there any areas of conflict on signing before the referendum?
Yes, there was.
Okay.
Because you had to get law in place for the referendum to take place.
Oh,
and the president, Muteesa too, was supposed to sign. And if he didn't sign, then the option remained with the president to sign.
Were these two still meeting by that time now? Or it didn't require the president and the prime minister to meet?
No, again, that is diplomatic. There are certain functions as the president. You must be there. You can't say, I'm not going to be there.
When did you last see President Muteesa at a public function? After
what?
After he became president. Because now I think trouble begins with the referendum.
No, independence was 62. He became president 63.
63 was there.
We had to work together until 64. When the 63, 64, when he had to sign the referendum.
When he didn't sign.
When he didn't sign. Then became frosty from that on.
Yes.
64, 65. That's when again you started getting cliques of people who were disgruntled here and there, with the people, with the vice president out of the office, Nadiope out of the office. Then you have the story of Vingira and Balachichiria.
Tell me again, how does the vice president leave office? Nadiope.
No, again.
And of course, the president was Muteesa.
No, that one I need, in fact, a bit of a refresher, because he wanted to be Kyabazinga.
Yes.
He wanted to be Kyabazinga of Busoga. And he couldn't be both Kyabazinga and vice president at the same time.
Why? When this Kabaka was the president?
No, that was a different. That was
a different arrangement.
That was he was the vice president of the party. Yes. He was in the UPC party. This one, there's no connection to say that you would try that.
So, now here is the lesson. I was assuming that Sir William Wilberforce becomes vice president because he's the Kyabazinga.
No.
Because he was vice president in the party.
He was vice president in the party.
Okay.
Because you remember at one time, Henry Mulochi.
Yes.
Was the Kyabazinga of Busoga. And the other one was the vice president of the party.
Honorable Kyemba.
Yes.
Learn it from me that is also not public knowledge. The assumption is Wilberforce Nadiope becomes vice president because he's the Kyabazinga.
No.
He was vice president, then he sought to become Kyabazinga and had to leave one.
Exactly. These are sometimes the misunderstandings of what people, those were not connected. But the agreement with the Kabaka was that he would retain his position as the Kabaka of Uganda. That was the agreement.
Not across the board?
No.
Okay.
That's
an important lesson.
The record shows that between 1939 and 1949, the Kyabazinga of Busoga was Ezekiel Tenwa Waako. From 1949 to 1955, it was William Wilberforce Nadiope II. Then from 1955 to 1967, when the monarchies were officially abolished, it was Henry Wako Molochi. And this is the period in which Wilberforce Nadiope was in active politics. From 1967 to 1995, there was no Kyabazinga. Then from 1995 to 2008, when he died, Henry Wako Molochi had reascended the throne. And from 2014 to the present day, it is Wilberforce Gabula Nadiope IV, grandson of William Wilberforce Nadiope.
Banange, have you subscribed to OwanaPaedia?
I don't know what you are waiting for.
OwanaPaedia, OwanaPaedia.